Welcome to College Admissions Unscripted. I'm your host, Trevor Mizrahi, along with Rob Schwartz. And today we're going to talk to you about college rankings. What they mean, are they important? What does it mean for your child or you as a parent as you're looking online, going to different websites and looking at rankings?
If anyone has met with me, seen me give a presentation over the past decade, you know pretty squarely where I fit into this. I'm not a big fan. Rankings are contrived. If you actually take the time, as I have, to go through something like the U.S. News and World Report college rankings, you'll realize that the rankings actually don't make that much sense. If you look at all the components that U.S. News has broken down over the years, what percentage goes with this and what percentage goes with that, and I would encourage you to actually take the time to do it, you'll realize that the meaning is pretty fragmented, and most importantly, it doesn't qualitatively or quantitatively reflect what the average American family actually wants or actually needs from the experience. So part of our responsibility is to help families get past that, certainly at the undergraduate level, where the rank and the experience rarely have a good connection, to help families better understand what's really going on and what should you really be paying attention to.
Yeah, Rob, I thought it was funny. One time you attended a seminar where one of the guest speakers mentioned that the idea behind U.S. News and World Report for this huge international population at one time was, well, we assume that because it's the U.S. News and World Report, it was a publication coming directly from our government talking about rankings of our university system. Not really the case, though.
Not at all the case. U.S. News is from a publicly traded source. It's now owned, if my memory serves, from the Washington Post. So literally the rankings are changing every single year as much to sell subscriptions as it is for any other reason.
Yeah. And so when I look at this from a perspective of, hey, families, what should we be looking at? It's more about the quality within the classroom. What type of opportunities does our student have if they were to attend this university? Versus how much alumni support does that school get? Or the amount of money or funds that they've raised from past graduates. To me, that means this much in the bigger scheme of what is my student really going to get out of this education as a whole.
And we talk about this, and you'll hear us talk about this in future shows, but the notion of fit. The idea of, you have two highly ranked schools. We'll just call them School X and School Y. But if you actually take the time to look at those two schools, you realize they have virtually nothing in common. One of them is in an urban environment. One of them is in the middle of nowhere. One has 30 or 40,000 undergraduate students and 10 or 20,000 graduate students. One has 2,000 undergraduate students and no graduate students. Just those values alone dictate two 100% completely different experiences, where one student will thrive at one and really dislike the other, or vice versa. That's where smart decisions are actually being made, and that's part of our responsibility as counselors, is to help families better navigate those choices.
Well, let me give you a perfect example. If you're a student looking at the health science major, and you're looking at a school like Syracuse, well, one of the things that really attracts those types of students to Syracuse is it's the second ranked city in New York with the most hospitals within the vicinity of that university. So if I'm going into health sciences, pre-med, to me, that's a huge value add. Even though Syracuse might not be ranked, let's say, in the top 5 nationwide, having access to a lot of those opportunities really kind of stands out.
Now, speaking of which, who's coming up in the next segment? That's right. Our good friend Camille is going to be here from Syracuse University to share some wit and wisdom, to give you some better insights into what might you get as an undergraduate student at Syracuse. Now, before we get there, I want to say one more thing about rankings. Now, I think both Trevor and I come down on the same side of this argument, which is undergraduate rankings don't mean that much. You can literally start anywhere and finish anywhere. However, at the graduate school level, your PhD program, your MD program, your JD program, your MBA program, the rankings actually do matter. Namely because it's one starting point, earning one degree with a very narrow focus that has an outcome that you can look at very clearly that says, I went to this school, I completed this experience, I have this degree, what kind of money do I make? which is generally what we're trying to ascertain. If I go to this school, what kind of payout am I going to get? At the graduate level, it's not that hard to make those kind of concrete conclusions. And what we come to find is over the years, those schools at the top of the food chain get top of the food chain money. And as you work your way down, the pay usually is in lockstep. That is not how undergraduate stuff works. It is far more tied to what you major in, not where you get your degree.
I hate to steal this story from Rob, but he mentioned this several years ago and it's always stuck with me. And it goes along the same lines of where you go, where you begin is not really indicative to where you can end up. A couple years ago from CSUN, Cal State University Northridge, there were 2 undergraduate students that made it into Harvard Medical. And if you really break it down, CSUN is not that highly reputed of an undergraduate institution. But they got into one of the most prestigious medical programs, and I want to say, if memory serves, only 180 students a year get into Harvard Medical.
So do your homework. Recognize that what you're looking for is your distinct fit within an institution, not what a college ranking guide says is good or not good. Make better decisions. When you have questions, reach out, ask people like us. We are here to help you. With that said, stay tuned. We're coming right back. Camille Crates from Syracuse University will be with us in just one moment. Stay right there.
See ya.
That's what I'm proud of. I'm proud of our dedication, our commitment to our cases, to our clients. If you fight for them, they notice it.
I always thought I was going to be an attorney. I had a plan to basically put together an amazing team. We all have our own specialties with what we bring to the table. And I think people are starting to take notice that we fight for top dollar.
Welcome back to College Admissions Unscripted. In our second segment of today's show, we are going to have the great pleasure of meeting with Camille Crates, Associate Director, Office of Admission at Syracuse University. Camille, it is a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start kind of big and broad and let's get a sense of what is it about Syracuse University that audiences clearly here in California, but around the country should really get to know about your institution of higher learning?
Gosh, there's so many things about Syracuse. I think that the fact that we are a mid-sized university, first of all, with a big school feel when it comes to all of the different support services and the different activities that we can offer students and all of our majors and minors that are offered. Yet we have a small school feel when it comes to the classroom. So our average class size is about 25. We don't have anything that's impacted. That doesn't mean it's not competitive to get in, but once you're in, and you will graduate in 4 years as long as you're passing all your classes. But I think also the fact that we have a lot of our academic programs are top programs. They're ranked nationally. So there are lots and lots of opportunities for different academic experiences. But essentially, the atmosphere on campus, the community feel, I think is really what makes Syracuse special. And if you ever talk to Syracuse alumni, they still talk about their love for Syracuse. So we say that we're part of the Orange family, and once Orange, always Orange. You don't stop being Orange once you leave campus. And so it's a really tight-knit community. It's a really interesting place to be.
So you mentioned a number of different programs that are nationally ranked. Can you take a few minutes to walk us through what some of those programs are?
Sure. So I'll try to do it in alphabetical order because that's how I can remember them. The School of Architecture is ranked typically in the top 3 in the country. It's a professional architecture degree, which means it's a 5-year program and students graduate ready to take their board exams. There's no graduate program required after the professional degree. We also have the Maxwell School of Citizenship, which has been ranked number 1 in policy studies for the last several years. So anything that has to do with international relations, political science, sociology, all of those programs are just top ranked. Our Newhouse School of Public Communications, again, is a top 3 communications school. It's a professional degree program, primarily journalism. Most people know us for broadcast journalism, sports journalism, but there's also PR and advertising included in that school. And again, that is a professional program. So students graduating from Newhouse are not required to get a master's degree in communications. Our education program is a top 10 school. So whether you're interested in general education or inclusive special education, Syracuse ranks right up there. And we have a lot of California students that study education at Syracuse and then come back and they're prepared to take their state exams in California as well, if this is where they decide to end up. And then what else? All of our arts programs. We do have a BFA program for both studio arts and performing arts. So our film program is a top 20 program. A lot of our alumni work in the industry here in the Los Angeles area. The design programs, animation programs, and then of course our music and our theater program, so acting and musical theater, and those are all very, very selective. One program in particular that has moved from our arts program to our communications program is the Bandier program. And this is a very unique program. It really doesn't exist anywhere else. It's similar to a music industry program, which we also have, but it's not audition based. And it is about music and business. And so students that apply to this are students that want to become agents or want to work as music producers. Maybe they want to be concert organizers. But only about 25 to 30 students are accepted into this program every year. And it's super elite and very, very selective. But if you're passionate about the music business, but you're not yourself particularly a musician, this might be a really interesting program for you. There's probably a million that I forgot to talk about, but those are sort of some of the ones that are most well-known and most highly ranked.
Camille, if we have a student who's interested in, let's say, the health sciences field, and a student from Southern California admitted to, let's say, a good university here in Southern California, how do we get a student interested in going upstate New York and really understanding the culture of a school like Syracuse?
So I think what's really interesting about Syracuse is it's not just a little college town, it's actually a city. A lot of people don't realize that. And because we're right in the middle of New York State, we actually have more hospitals than any city in New York outside of New York City. So there are a lot of health science opportunities. One of the major hospitals is SUNY Upstate, which is kind of like the UCLA Medical Center of Central New York. And it's literally across the street from Syracuse, along with 2 other hospitals. So our students that are studying in the pre-health field, not only have that opportunity to work in those hospitals that they literally can walk to from their dorm rooms, but we also have some direct entry programs with SUNY Upstate and some accelerated programs with SUNY Upstate and a couple of other area universities as well. So students have the opportunity to do a 4+1 program a 4+4 program or a 3+4 program with SUNY Upstate and some other programs. We also have a 3+3 physical therapy program with SUNY Upstate. So students can actually do direct entry into physical therapy as well. Or if they're not quite sure as a freshman, by the end of sophomore year, they can move into that program and still be able to get their physical therapy, their PPT, in 6 years instead of 7. So a lot of different options for students in the health fields, including pre-dentistry and also pre-veterinary. So not just pre-med.
Camille, I want to come back to the notion of the campus and the campus community. So if we're reaching out to families who are going to have freshmen in college and they want to have a sense of what is my life going to be like as a freshman at Syracuse. Can you give them kind of a rough idea of what that environment is like?
Sure. So students, first of all, we're a residential campus. So students are required to live on campus their first 2 years. We have all different types of dorms. I think there are 21 different residence halls on campus, primarily around the outskirts of campus and within walking distance of your classes, of the library, of the dining halls. It's a very walkable campus. In fact, freshmen are not allowed to have cars on campus, which I know is a big change for students coming from California, but it's really a breath of fresh air. It's kind of a hilly campus. The whole campus is built up on a hill. It's about 10 minutes outside of downtown Syracuse. So you can get to downtown quite easily if you want to go to the mall or go to a movie or possibly when you're older, go to a club, but also restaurants. So when you're on campus, at least half of our students are on campus. And so it really is, campus life is focused there. Because we have the performing arts programs, there's lots of things going on like concerts and theater. We have an art museum, which is actually not just a little museum. We actually had a Michelangelo drawings exhibit a couple of years ago. So there's a real art museum on campus. And of course, art shows by the faculty and students as well. So there's always, the culture happening. We have over 300 clubs and organizations. So we do have the D1 sports, and our stadium, again, is on campus, so students can walk to a game. But we also have club and intramural sports. There's community service, there's student government. Because we are known for our journalism and communications, we have television stations, radio stations, magazines, newspapers that are all student run. So those are things that students, even, freshmen and sophomore, can get involved in. And then you can also get involved in things like research. We encourage our undergraduate students to get involved in research. So you might be on a research team. I don't know, it doesn't even have to be scientific research. It could be social sciences research or the arts research. But you could be on some kind of a research team. You could be writing for a magazine. You could be playing Quidditch. And there's so many things that you can be doing. So it's just a place where students are very active, both academically, but also non-academically.
One thing that I'm noticing, Camille, and you could probably speak to this more intelligently, I find that a lot of families now are looking at the value of the college, especially for the undergrad. And something that you mentioned earlier was a lot of services available for students on campus. Mm-hmm. Can you mention anything about maybe a career services opportunity, or once a student's ready to graduate, what that prospect looks like?
Sure. So when students arrive on campus, like most universities, they're assigned an academic advisor. But Syracuse also assigns every student a career advisor as incoming freshmen. And that career advisor is the one that is going to follow the student and sort of help guide them on their more professional track. So that might mean helping them find an internship. And of course, we have career fairs on campus where we have companies coming to campus looking for student interns and also for employees eventually. But they might help them with the internship. They might help them with some research opportunities. They may help them with their graduate school applications or with job applications when they're getting ready to graduate. Besides our career office on campus, we also have a career officer in our New York City office. But our California Alumni Association has been fundraising to create a career services officer in our Los Angeles office as well. And that has been very successful. And we're hoping within the next 6 months to have a career services office set up for our students from the West Coast, but also for any alumni that move out to the West Coast after they graduate. At least 50% of our students get their jobs or their internships through a Syracuse connection. So that might be through a career fair on campus. It might be through their career advisor. It might be through an alum and some sort of networking going on with that. So Syracuse is very, very supportive of their students and of their alumni also.
I can tell you that I've had a number of different students who have passed through the doors at Syracuse University. I've never had a single student give me a story other than, wow, it was awesome. It was an amazing experience. And it's one of the reasons why we wanted to have you here today to share some information about what we both feel is an outstanding opportunity for California students to really grow and thrive and get all of the opportunities that a dynamic four-year school can offer without some of the hindrances of the large public framework getting in the way. Are there any last ideas, any last comments that you want to share with us and our audience about Syracuse University?
Sure. I just, one thing that people always get worried about is out-of-state tuition and also the cost of a private university. So because we're private, we don't have out-of-state tuition. And you know, because we're private, we also have a hefty price tag. However, we also have a very hefty financial aid and scholarship program. So we tend to support between 70 and 75% of our students through merit scholarships and financial aid. And we can be very competitive with California public schools when it comes to our financial packages. So that's always something I like to throw out there because I know people are nervous about going out of state also for financial purposes.
Well, I would like to take a moment to say thank you again to Camille Kreitz, Associate Director, the Office of Admission at Syracuse University, for joining us today. Camille, this was very informative. We're very grateful to have you here. And thank you again for sharing information about another wonderful destination that California families should be looking into, Syracuse University.
Thank you for having me. I love talking about Syracuse, so anytime I'm happy to do it.
Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to everyone watching today's show, College Admissions Unscripted. We hope to have another episode for you very, very soon. Come back and join us again. Hope you learned a lot. Again, if you have questions, if you have concerns, please feel free to reach out to myself, Rob Schwartz, or to my good friend and associate, Trevor Mizrahi. We're here to help, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for watching.